Today is actually a very special day because it's National Parents' Day. I don't know if you were aware of that, but actually this was established in 1995. So we wanted to, before we began, I wanted to recognize all of the parents in the audience by having everyone please stand if you are a ma or a pa. Please stand and let us recognize you. Thank you so much. Okay. So, actually, the Washington Times today put out a really big, a special segment that had to do with honoring, recognizing, and honoring our parents, and giving a little bit of background on National Parents' Day. So I wanted to have that pulled up. And if you would like to get that document on PDF, then just let me know after and I can send it out to you. All right, National Parents' Day 2016. So if you see on the bottom, it's put together by FFWPU, Universal Peace Federation, American Clergy Association, Women's Fed, and also the Washington Times. And in it, it includes the Parents' Day proclamations from both President George W. Bush and Bill Clinton, and just gives a little bit of background on the resolution in Congress, and also a little message from former Indiana Representative Dan Burton. If you have recognized in some more recent events, like in Korea and also at the Belvedere Yankee Stadium rally, he was there presenting. He was one of the main, advocates of implementing this day. And this year we have 12 couples that are finalists, and I think the finalists will be determined today. Yeah, so it's a beautiful report, and it also includes not only about National Parents' Day, but also a little bit about Global Parents' Day, which was implemented by the United Nations. Who knows when is Global Parents' Day? June 1st. Yep. And National Parents' Day now falls every fourth Sunday in July. And here's a little bit by Dr. Walsh, president of UPF. I'd encourage you to read it. They're great little articles and segments in there. Okay. Great. Okay. So actually, this idea of Parents' Day, received overwhelming support. I mean, who can really argue, right? Of course, we all have parents. We all come from somewhere, and our parents are not perfect, and sometimes they make mistakes, and but the ideal of parents is something that I think all of humankind really strives to have in their lives, right? And so this day is a very special day, of course, because it touches upon the need for humanity to have parents, and of course it's a way for humanity to understand the importance of our true parents, right? So, okay, I can continue. Sorry, I spilling into what you're going to say.
So, we've heard many times the impact of knowing true parents. And I think it's very true that if everyone in the world knew who true parents are, the world would probably be changed pretty quickly. Probably overnight. Who knows how quickly it would be. But the point is, everybody needs parents, and everybody needs true parents. There's so many problems in the world that everybody's trying to tackle, and none of them really get to the root of the problem, which is that everybody needs to grow up in a family of love. So this question of what if everybody in the world knew true parents, I really wanted to think about it a little bit deeper. What would be the impact if everybody in the world grew up in a family where the people that they woke up with, the people that made them breakfast every day, what if those people were true parents? Now, I know our actual true parents probably can't fit everybody in the world in their house, probably don't have enough time to make eggs for everybody, but imagine for a moment if you grew up in a house where your parents were true parents. Just think about that for a moment. That's one of the things we want to ask you to think about today, the impact that that would have. Not just knowing who they are, but knowing what it would be like if that's what your parents, the parents that woke you up, took your blanket off you in the morning to wake you up, those parents, the ones that you physically saw every single day, I think it would be amazing. Now, true parents have shown us how to become like true parents, and they've given us everything we possibly need to become like them, and I think it's possible for us to all be like that. It's not easy, of course, but can you imagine as a kid you would come home and you wouldn't have to worry about what kind of mood mom or dad is in, right? You wouldn't have to worry about, what are they going to say if I do this bad thing and I tell them? You would get disciplined not too strictly, but not too loosely. It would be a perfect balance. Now, I don't think every parent in the world, if they were like true parents, they would all be the same, right? There's no cookie cutter setup, right? But there are 4 qualities that I believe that every single parent would have if we were like true parents, and they're God's qualities. And those qualities are absolute, unique, eternal, and unchanging. Sometimes those words are kind of, they're not always easy to define, right? But we actually wanted to ask you what you think these 4 qualities mean to you and what it would look like if your parents were absolute, unique, eternal, and unchanging, right? And take a moment and don't think about true parents because you didn't grow up with them in your house, right? Think about your own parents. What would the impact be on you? And if you're a parent, think about what your impact would be on your kids if you were absolute, unique, eternal, and unchanging. I know as a parent myself, I am not those things all the time, right? I'm not unchanging. That's probably the biggest struggle. But I have an idea of what it looks like, and we wanted to ask you, especially the parents and the kids maybe too.
Yeah, so what comes to mind when you think of the word absolute? Anybody? Like, what would that look like to you? A parent that is absolute. Committed. Committed.
Yeah, 100%.
100% committed. Ms. Kondo?
Become a model.
Becoming a model. Great.
I think it's a parent who is connected to the vertical line, who has center on God and really brings that into the family in everything that they do.
Great. How about unique? What do you think that means to have, for your love to be unique? Or as one of God's qualities is unique.
Sense of humor.
Sense of humor? Okay.
To be yourself.
To be yourself?
Unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah?
That it's not always the same in every situation.
That it's not always the same in every situation. Like, you mean, depending on who your children are, you might relate to them each a little bit differently? Or depending on the situation?
I don't know that if you see your children uniquely from God's viewpoint,
It's so good to see you here, Mrs. Orman, by the way. Aren't you guys happy to see Mrs. Orman?
Okay, I just want to, while I've got the microphone, I just want to thank everybody for their prayers. They really worked. I feel great, and I'm really grateful. Thank you. The power of your prayer is incredible. Thank you. Unique is, in my case, I have twins. And when I look at my twins, sometimes you want to, treat them the same. But even twins in the same womb, born at the same time, are so different. They're so different. And to see your children, to be a parent who's unique, to see from God's viewpoint the value of each of those characteristics in those children, and really draw them out, help empower them without saying, oh, why aren't you like your brother? Why aren't you like your sister? Or, and to really mean it, to really feel it for those kids, no matter how different, even if they argue with you about politics, to see the beauty of that unique mindset. That's a challenge.
Thank you. I had to give it to you because I felt like I couldn't do that justice, what you were telling me. Okay, how about the term eternal? So we absolute, unique, we forgot unchanging. Okay, unchanging. What does that look like to you? Unchanging is a little bit straightforward of a term, but what would that look like to you? Okay.
To me, unchanging would mean that you would be consistent in all the guidance that you give your children.
Great. Others?
Integrity.
Integrity. What you say and what you do, not wishy-washy. And finally, what about eternal? I'm getting points.
Unchanging and eternal, it's kind of similar, but it's a hard thing to see in this world. Things change all the time. So like if unchanging love and eternal love is there, we can really trust, and we can, I think it's very, very precious if that is existing.
Thank you. Oh, we've got another one here. Oh, another one.
Give to Toby first. I want to say something to absolute. I think, like last Sunday, Mr. Abe talked about awareness. Like, always, absolutely practice awareness, because there's so many million situations when you in relationships, right? So be always aware what attitude you have.
I guess. Eternal. They will forever be your parents.
Right.
Always reliable, like our true Father is, when called upon. And I think that's a very important part. And I like to use the occasion to announce, if you haven't received the message on Facebook, we welcome to our midst Madeline, our new granddaughter from Michael and Kirsten.
That's for another day. Grandparents, right? All right.
Just I wanted to say something about absolute. That absolute means that someone's always true, and that you can always count on that person to be true. And for eternity means that what you love will always love, and that we can't run away because it's eternal. So oftentimes I feel like I want to run away from my parents. So if I really believe in eternity, then I have to really demonstrate a little more deeper love, because they'll always be my parents.
Thank you. Okay.
So that was great. Awesome. After much debate and prayer and hundake and dictionary looking up, we have our own 4 points I'd like to share. They're very, very simple. For us, and it's kind of a summary of everything that you all said too. For us, absolute basically means giving everything, not holding back. You know, like sometimes there's one yogurt left, and you might think, I'm saving that for me. But instead, give it to your kids, because you know they love yogurt. Unique is, you know, like you said, giving diversely, giving something, you know, like if you know your kid does not like pretzels, don't buy them a bag of pretzels, you know? You have to know exactly, like Mrs. Orman said, just know the differences in your kids and love them specific to what will really reach their hearts. And unchanging and eternal, of course, are a little more straightforward, I think. But they're still a little bit different. Unchanging is, it never changes, obviously. It never wavers, right? There's no doubt, there's no restriction. And then eternal, of course, is forever. It's pretty straightforward. Your parents, somebody said it over there. It was perfect. Your parents will always be your parents, right? No matter what happens. You can never say, I wish I didn't have my dad or my mom or whatever. It doesn't work that way. Sorry. So, once again, think about what would the impact of it, the impact be in the world if not only everybody knew who true parents were, but if every parent in the world was like true parents. If they had those 4 qualities of God, right? There would be no more wars, there'd be no more killing, everybody's hearts would be moved, of course, and people would take care of each other, right? Because that's what you do. And of course, I think the best thing is you'd be a little bit more connected to God because you could see God more substantially in your parents, right? Just like true parents. So we have all the tools. We have, you know, the path has been paved. It's not easy, but it's there. And I think it's something that will be amazing if we could all grow up in a family like that.
Yeah, just to speak a little more to that idea of connecting to God, you know, I think in a way there wouldn't be so much of a mistrust or, you know, a feeling of doubt every so often. You know, as we grow and we come to learn about God and we come to form a relationship with God, it's so intangible often. And it's just easy to feel like, well, you know, is it true that someone could love me that much, you know, because often our reality is not that way. So, you know, our parents are meant to really be the substantial embodiments of God such that, you know, that feeling would be so natural. Oh, actually, it's not only my parents who have been loving me, actually, you know, there is a greater all-being parent here that has always loved me, even before I came to exist. So we wanted to point out these qualities, not so that you could compare, like, oh, well, you know, look at my parents, or, you know, something like that, or this is how far I am from that. But actually, also as a way for us to celebrate how our parents do demonstrate those godlike qualities, and encourage our parents in the ways that they are constantly striving to always do better. And I can say, you know, obviously Pastor Abe and I have not been parents for very long, but it really is always this feeling of, you know, at the end of the day, oh, I could have done that better. I could have, you know, handled that situation a little better. And sometimes as children, we don't see that effort made on the part of our parents, but it's always there. And also, you know, not to forget that an ideal family is not just, you know, parents and children uniting, but also brothers and sisters working together. So in other words, as, you know, we're all children, you know, we all come from somewhere. So it's really, we also have a responsibility too. We have a responsibility to make that relationship and to build that, you know, incredible family that we're always talking about. So actually, we wanted to ask the audience again for people to just share one thing that you're grateful for your parents. So maybe you can, where's my, oh, maybe Pastor Avi can go. You have better shoes to run. Oh, sorry.
When I think of my parents, I'd like to thank them for, as far as my father goes, for teaching me the value of honesty and always looking for the best in people. And for my mother to always put God first. And she's not only my mother, but she's also my spiritual sister. And for always being my best friend. This is amazing for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, for my parents, I think one of the things I appreciate most about them is their love for each other. My parents will be celebrating their 58th wedding anniversary soon. And in 58 years, I don't think I've ever seen them fighting with each other. Can you imagine that? Yes. 58 years. But they did fight. I just never saw it. But they really taught me the value of that husband and wife have to love each other and set a really good example for the kids in their unity. They were always united in their decisions. You could never, play them off against each other, go to dad and ask dad for something because you knew that mum would say no, They were always united there. So I really valued that love and commitment that they had to each other.
So, I want to thank my mom for teaching me how to love people in unique ways and see the best in people. And I want to thank my dad for and I'd like to thank my dad for always being there for us and teaching us to see the good in every situation.
Thank you,
Mika. Well, both of my parents were only children, and they were really their treasures for their parents. And then they had 5 children. And honestly, it was hard for them to be parents. They'd even say sometimes, we really weren't prepared for this because we just never knew. But at the end of the day, I'm grateful to them because they put us first and they sacrificed their own pleasure and desires to make sure we were taken care of. That means as I get older, more and more.
Your parent is very good, my situation, I joined church, and my parent is, if you join church, you are not no more my son, something like this. And then True Father explained to us why, people or family doesn't like you, means who join church. Because who join church, people said true parent, and then how about your physical parent, fourth parent? That's why, your parent or family hate you. And then anyway, thank you for my parent. He birthed me, and then I joined this movement. If I'm not to come out in this world, I never see this kind, community. Very funny, very special. That's why I wanna, ask to you, please think about, fourth parent and the true parent. Father said, you must be true parent, means trial Messiah. Trial Messiah means like a small reverent moon. love, other people more than yourself or family, something like this. If you think about like this, or my parents good, I must take care of my family. If everybody focus on family, so difficult to find, cannot see the ideal world in this earth. Anyway, I'm too much reading. That's why I speak. But exactly, I'm here. I'm one of you. But I become like this. That's why don't deny someone like me. Everybody, brother and sister, one family under God. If you speak this kind, further word, one family under God, we are brothers and sisters. We are brothers and sisters. We don't know anything about each other, but we are brothers and sisters. I love you, but I don't know anything about you. Anyway, I show you today, I'm something different or strange if you compare other people, but I'm here. That's why, thank you, my physical parents. That's all.
I'm grateful to my parents because they taught me how to pray. My mother was, she came from Europe. She was Ukrainian, and she was of Catholic background. And I remember her teaching me how to pray in Ukrainian, and then I learned how to pray in English as well, of course, because I learned English later in school. But I was born here. But I was so impressed by her teaching me to pray at an early age. I was like 4 or 5 years old. And then also going to church with my father. I believe that because they showed me God, who God was, in the churches, I was able to come to this church later, much later in life. They instilled in me a love for God.
Yes, I don't understand what everybody said because I have a hearing impairment. But I always admired about my parents that they were never arguing in front of us children. They always, when they had disagreements, they just talked privately in the bedroom. And my mother was always trying to do what my father wanted, like when it came to vacations, when it came to furnishing the house. And after my father passed away, I found out that my mother has completely different tastes than my father, but she always tried to unite with them. So, and they were always very loyal to each other, very affectionate. They were not so religious, but they were very committed to each other. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Go back.
The one thing well, I guess there's many things, but the one thing I want to share that I'm grateful for both my parents is that throughout my life, they always allowed me to make my own choices and then got right behind me with full excitement. And even when the one thing they taught me is when things don't go my way or when I feel like things are out of control or something's not going right, that God truly does have a plan for me and truly has this overwhelming love for me that everything is okay. Things are going to be okay because God is constantly watching me, and I feel like that's something that my parents always emphasized.
Have them bring it up there.
Especially from my mom, what I learned from her is faith and dedication to God and true parents. I spoke to her this morning, and they've been having a very rough week because my stepdad is his cancer came back, and it came back really strong, and it's hitting him really hard. The pain is unbearable. They're having tough nights and tough days. And then we asked her, because they use their house as the church for the city where they live in. And so I said, did you cancel Sunday service? And she said, no. No. This is good for my stepdad, and it's good for her, and it's good for the community. So they're still holding their Sunday service at their home, even though their circumstances and the pain and suffering they're going through right now, because and that's amazing. And have that kind of loyalty and faith and determination for to support God and true parents even under the most difficult circumstances. So this is a great thing to learn from her.
Thank you. Okay. How about two more?
I'm so grateful for my parents because I have 6 brothers and I'm only one girl in the family. And I'm so grateful for them because they raised us Catholics, and every Sunday, like 4 o'clock, we are already in the church. So, and like me, I love Jesus very much. And that day that I found true parents, I'm very struggle about the Messiah. But Jesus bring me to true parents. That's why I'm here, brother and sister, to you all. And I have great blessings. And so, I'm so grateful for my parents also because I never see them fighting. What Roger said, I never see them fighting. And we have a lot of love for our parents. So I do also for my own family because that's our parents teach us. 7 children, a lot of love. Thank you very much.
And last one.
I'm especially grateful and even proud of my parents when I remember one thing my father once said. It was at a time of really tough persecution. And he said, I educated my children. I know it wasn't perfect, but I did my best. And whatever they are going to stand for or decide for, I will listen first. And this enabled my parents at a very high age to embrace really true parents and whatever their message was. So therefore, I will always be very grateful.
Thank you. We could go on and on and on. Everybody has something amazing to share. Thank you for everybody who shared something, and for those of you who didn't share, I know that you all have something really unique and special. So if you didn't get to share it to the group, maybe you can share it to a buddy after this. Okay. So Pastor Abe and I just wanted to mention one point, which is that, and it kind of relates to what Mr. Kondo was saying, is oftentimes because we hear so much about true parents and we know so much about true parents, it's a little easy sometimes to get complacent and to forget again what's the point. And I know that sometimes, like as a young person looking at our movement, it's like well, why do we just keep talking about true parents, but we're not really doing, we're not really acting, and we're not getting out there and really serving and loving people? And I think, that's the whole point, that we need to recognize, is that, our true parents are amazing individuals, but also that's who we're supposed to be striving to become, just like true parents ourselves. So in every aspect of what we do in our day and our lives, how can we embody our true parents? How can we connect more to our heavenly parent, become more, like God's sons and daughters that we know that God is really hoping of each and every one of us. And like Mr. Kondo said, this is exactly what tribal messiahship is about. It's not just, it's not just a campaign that we're sort of shooting for the next 4 years. Of course, there's, like a certain effort and certain numbers, but it's really about our lifestyle, our mission as blessed families to reach out and bring other people to God's bosom, to know, who our true parents are, and for all of us to really be free in that knowing and in that possibility. So I'd like to conclude by reading pledge number 6 of the family pledge. It says, "Our family, the owner of Chanoguk, pledges to become a family that moves heavenly fortune by embodying the heavenly parent and true parents, and to perfect a family that conveys heaven's blessing to our community by centering on true love. Let us continue to become true parents ourselves and offer gratitude to our physical parents as well as heavenly parent today." Happy National Parents Day. All right. Okay. All right, please join me in prayer. Our dearest, most beloved Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother, we are so grateful to you today. We really want to offer this national holiday up to you, National Parents Day here in America. We know that parents are critical to being able to raise complete and whole citizens of the nation and the world. That it really, it starts from connecting to our root and connecting to our parents, and ultimately to you, our Heavenly Parent. And I pray so much that each and every person had so many precious words to share today and so much incredible wisdom that if we just think about it a little bit, if we have give and take with our original mind, how much we have all of this inherent within us, how much we know really the right thing to do, and how much we just need to keep building that muscle and tapping into, real reality of, connecting to our true selves as your sons and daughters. In every situation, please allow us to see it as an opportunity to grow and as an opportunity to share and invite other people to move forward and to progress in their lives, so that we as a humanity don't stay stuck in our current situations and our fears and our worries, but that really we can see the light and recognize that you as our Heavenly Parent and has always been there, and also that our true parents have stood up and they have followed your calling and have paved the way. I pray so much for this morning, this opportunity for us to all be together, and I report all of these things, upholding the names of our true parents and the names of Abraham and Mika Deshotel of a blessed interfamily. Achu.